Board members, welcome back. Thank you for your prompt break. We are sitting at agenda item 12, monthly budget report. So when Deputy Superintendent Scott Jones is ready, we will have him present.
Good afternoon, board members and the public. Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones with the monthly budget report. As everyone knows, it's my job to update the board on what our fiscal position is. It's early in the fiscal year. We just started the new fiscal year on July 1st. Happy fiscal year, everybody. Looking forward to a great year with you. You can see the interactive tool that we've provided to you, board members and the public. It won't have a lot of updated information for the new fiscal year because, again, we're just barely 37 days into 38 days into the new fiscal year. So, but it's still useful if you want to see where things are headed towards or going is within the first 38 days of the new fiscal year. One thing that we also did provide in the backups, so I'll just move away from this, is you should see copies of what's called the government award notifications. So this goes to the early report by the superintendent, and as you may recall, there were 6 specific grants that were frozen or delayed, or different words were used on those, and those 6 grants since then have been released. I would also like to remind you and the public and any media interest out there that what we've done is, the question was, well, okay, if these grants are delayed, how much are you estimating that the state could lose or not see, other terms? And the estimate we based was on the prior year award from 24 for those 6 grants was around $40 million. So I am pleased to report that as of today, we've received not all the grant award notifications. So I'm going to pause there. We haven't received them yet. They're still coming in. But thus far, we're about 29 million of the 40 million that we estimated when we're anticipating at least one more GAN or government award notification in the Title II category. So yes, as it stands right now, as of the date of my report, it's $11 million. It's a $11 million difference between what we estimated, the state could lose. Now, some of the GANs have actually come in higher than last year's awards. So, we really think that we'll land somewhere close to the $40 million we estimated. And by all means, we'll let you know, and we'll let the LEAs know, any differences in that, but we still need to give a little bit more time. I was hoping all the grant award notifications would have been in by now, but we just wanted to demonstrate to you that they are coming in because of the decision by the federal, to release those grants. So one other key piece to this is as part of my attestation, I always indicate that we are in a strong financial position to meet all of our known obligations and commitments. So even though we still are pending some award notifications, we still have money to sustain positions here in the USBE. LEAs still have some carry forward funds. Differs though amongst the LEAs, so at the local level they'll have to continue to do it. But again, just as soon as we get the information on or the award notifications, we'll make sure to do it. So I feel confident. I'm not able to say right now, pending all those awards, that we have, I can say that because we have carry forward balances, that a lot of the commitments and obligations that were made, i.e. summer school programs, those types of things can continue. But there's, definitely limits to funding all around. So, we'll carve that out or draw that out as we get more and more information from them. So there's that piece of it too. Now, as you all know, the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind financial operations and has become a section or a division of the not just the financial operations, but what was known as the agency before has become a department of the Utah State Board of Education. Now, what we're doing though is in the interest of keeping the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind, the update on their particular part or their particular status will be provided tomorrow in that agenda item. But going forward, after we move, or at some point, but at the direction of board leadership, due to that legislation and the effective date of just July 1st, you can, when I or whoever, Deborah, or down the road years from now or whatever, when the attestations come, they will be inclusive of the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind. So more to follow tomorrow. We'll do that too. But we're in a strong financial position either way. There is some, obviously some movement in the federal funding aspects. We'll keep you informed. We'll keep you updated. Long term, though, from my position or my vantage point, we're going to have to really look and work closely with the legislature in the next general session. I feel confident about, federal fiscal year 25 and state fiscal year 26, which we're in now, but long term, and depending on a lot that's happening back in Washington, D.C. right now, is going to make all states, not just us, have to really spend some time with their legislative bodies to do it. We also have a really audit going on that Board Member Carey and a few others have supported, so that's underway. In fact, they were out here on site last week to get to data regarding how ancillary costs to costs to run federal programs, meet compliance, those types of things. So that's underway right now. We hope to have that ready in October, and I think the timing will be perfect as long as we have that information, that data for good decision making, and to work closely with the legislators in the future. So pending any questions, Chair Hymas, I can move to the discretionary funds report at your direction.
Thank you. We do have a question from Member Carey.
Yep. Deputy Superintendent Jones. So, during the Biden administration, we would get executive orders and guidance on how to handle a particular program that ran counter to established law, at least in my opinion. We are now getting executive orders from a new administration. And my question is this, which is, are there penalties for non-compliance with executive orders? With the law, I understand. If you violate that, there's penalties built into it. But an executive order, since it doesn't carry the weight of law, are there penalties built into it that this board has to be aware of, or risks that our LEAs may face for non-compliance? Thank you, Chair.
So, Chair, Board Member Carey's question, the answer to that is potentially yes. Yes, there could be consequences of that. With those executive orders, and recently with the government award notifications, GANs, those executive type orders or directions have been laid out. And also it's been made abundantly clear to us that we can expect, states can expect that there'll be reviews. They said there, when these these particular grants were frozen or delayed, they said we were looking into the past expenditures and use of these funds and those types of things. One example of an executive order is that's out there or around surrounding one of the particular title programs, I believe it's Title III, is money being used for undocumented students, right? That's an example. So potentially, yes, I mean, we could, but then of course, we will pay attention to that and make sure to do it, but no action or anything, because to Board Member Carey's point, it's not been changed in the ESSA laws or to be that specific. So all I can say from my vantage point is that there is the potential there, but depending on if we get reviewed or audited or monitored, and then subsequently if there's some kind of finding, then we would obviously look at the current code, federal regulations, and then you as a board or your staff could decide to appeal or say, well, hey, this is not an executive order. But I'm getting really way ahead of myself. beyond the potential. So, but that's really what we're being taught right now, or what we're being told, is that yes, there could be potentially some ramifications, but it would take a review, monitoring, or audit to establish that, and then we just have to go from there. Does that help, or?
One more question, Chair.
Yeah, we have a follow-up.
Just one follow-up on that. So, who would bear the risk in that case? So, if there's an executive order that a local LEA doesn't adhere to or follow, and there is an audit by the federal government, and a fine is imposed or a return of funds demanded, who carries that financial burden? Is it us as a state entity, or is it the LEA who was in non-compliance, hypothetically?
Chair Hymas, the answer to that question is us. The state education agency is held responsible for non-compliance by our LEAs.
That brings still a whole bunch of questions, but I don't want to
yeah,
get into the.
yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you. Let's move on to agenda item 12.2, discretionary funds report.
So if you'll pull up the backup or the discretionary funds report. Okay, so we're almost to the point where we're closed, right, for fiscal year 25, and so next month we'll identify balances that will be placed in the discretionary funds for you as a board to act on for next month. And that will be all captured in the upper right-hand corner. In addition to that, and as part of this meeting in August, to try to prepare for and set conditions for a quick and timely process related to your directions on the use of discretionary funds, we provide the main body update. So if you could go over into the main body of the report, you'll see some color coding in there. The gold colors are projects that we estimated a certain amount or set aside a certain amount, and the RFPs or some have come in less than we had estimated the project would cost. So now that we know how much the project is going to cost, we'll just move that difference of funding up into the balances up there, along with the amounts that we identify with state finance as part of our closure activities fiscal year 25. I'm really pleased to report that the yellow coded area is projects that are done, right? These are things that you had identified. You can see in the far right-hand column when you decided or what dates you decided to do that. So any remaining balances, you see that remaining column, will now also be put back up into the upper right-hand quadrant. So I would just add, and another key takeaway too is, and it relates to my earlier report, that we've started on the external audit of the costs associated with monitoring or administrating federal programs. If you recall, your motion was to use $150,000 out of your contingency fund. So you'll see that next month too. Now that that's started, we have that commitment. We know how much was committed. They may come under that, or we'll just have to see when they start invoicing us. But that's another key takeaway here too, is we'll go ahead and update the discretionary funds report so that all projects, all balances are accounted for, and any differences are moved up in there along with the final closure amounts to go in there for decision-making purposes. So this is a value add for you to look at, give you a lot of lead time going into next month for the decision-making process on where the board wants to go, obviously subject to leadership's decision on whether it should be on the main board agenda or flow through committee. That's entirely up to you. Just as background on this process, typically the board has asked it to come to the full board because sometimes waiting till October to start projects and do things that are identified in that has been things. So, I'll obviously take the direction of board leadership on the agenda setting aspect, but past boards have really wanted this to just not go through committee and go through the full board because of the timing. That's all. If you can wait another month and have it go through committee and do it, so please consider that aspect of the process too, staff are open to supporting whatever direction you want to take for the decision-making process on those balances that you'll see updated as a result of year-end close, completion of projects, or differences in what was estimated to what was actually identified by the RFP process. So, sir, that concludes, or Chair Hymas, that concludes the discretionary funds report. At your direction, we can move to Mr. Kramer, who is online, for what is the first iteration of the quarterly SESB update. And again, at your direction, sir, pending any questions on the discretionary funds report or anything else for me.
I have a question from Member Hall.
Okay. Real quick question. What's the name of the company that's doing the audit on all the finances?
Chair, GPP Analytics. So Golf Papa Analytics. Hey, I just wanted to use the military. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
does that help, sir?
No,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. Good company. Good. Small, but yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Seeing no other lights, let's move on to 12.3. And Paul, are you with us online?
Yes. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for allowing us to join virtually. A member of our board who's part of our finance committee was en route. I was also en route. Just busy days, and then you're running ahead of schedule, it looks like. So we'll try to keep it that way. Thank you, Superintendent Jones. This is what we'll call the first quarterly budget update to the USBE from the State Charter School Board. Next slide, please. And there's two main purposes. One is to support the USBE oversight. In fact, USBE oversees all of the state charter schools' budget, but yet to also provide autonomy to the State Charter School Board to spend according to the budget. Both of these aspects are grounded in Utah code, and they're also part of the executed USBE and State Charter School Board MOU. And so there's a couple of key points to this really high-level presentation. Today it's high level. At the next quarter, we'll get into some numbers and we'll get into some more detail. But the key points really is that your board approves the State Charter School Board's annual budget. That happens annually. And then it's up to the State Charter School Board to execute this budget within approved parameters. And then jointly, we review how we're doing and executing the actual against the budget. So these are the key points of budget oversight and autonomy. And the next slide, please. So the annual approval, pretty simple process in that the USBE staff sends over a draft in the spring. And after we receive a draft, it's based on some historical budget numbers and spending, and also what's been passed through the legislature. And so we get those drafts. And then the State Charter School Board in a board meeting finalizes. We work on it as staff. Our board ultimately has some discussion and makes a decision in an open board meeting to finalize a budget. And then it comes back to USBE for approval. And that's what we're calling annual approval. We also anticipate beginning after the first quarter, we're still in the middle of the first quarter, but having some check-ins. And the check-ins will then be some reports of budget versus actual and any variance discussion between those two. And then also quarterly review meetings. These are high level, talking about the variances that were just mentioned, but also talking about any trends and if there's any overages, what we can do to not have that happen again, and what types of improvements we can put in place. So quarterly review meetings, and that's the State Charter School Board to USBE. And so that's a 1, 2, 3 budget oversight process. We try to keep it as simple as we can. Next slide, please. One of the things that we've worked on and that we have in place is a strong segregation of duties. And so even though we have a small staff at the State Charter School Board, we have roles that are separated out for requesting, approving, and paying. And we appreciate the staff, Superintendent Jones and Deborah and others on the finance team that walked us through and talked us through to get that segregation of duties in place. And that's something that we absolutely have in place. And then just embedded in our systems of controls. The next step for the State Charter School Board that the Finance Committee recommended that we bring, it's going to be on the agenda next week, Thursday, is that our Finance Committee get involved in all purchases or positions that are above $75,000. It's just another check and balance. It's another opportunity for our board to engage and to review and to really control spending according to the budget. And so this was just a review of some of the internal controls and some of the good work of our Finance Committee who came up with this recommendation that I think will be approved next week, Thursday. Next slide. The arrow there on the left, because this is in fact our fiscal year 26 final budget that went through that process. It shows you just how few funds we have. We have 3. And we used to have 6 when I started 2 years ago. And together with USBE staff, we've consolidated and made it half the number of programs, which is just a little bit more manageable and easier for understanding for our board. As we work with you, it'll just be really easy. So we have our just over $2 million of charter school board. We have $400,000 for mentoring and training. And then we have a startup fund, which is $1.5 million for a tick over $4 million. Next slide. And so that program consolidation happened over the last 2 years. Previously 6 programs, as I mentioned, and it's now 3 programs. And I've already given you the highlights of each of these: the $2.2 million charter board for operations, the $400,000, which is really for contract services to groups like the association and the Utah Charter Network, so that they provide mentoring and training, and some other contract providers. And then really the 1.59 are funds that come to LEAs. They're passed through the State Charter School Board's processes and ultimately comes to LEAs. And so the administrative and fiscal programs are now unified underneath the Charter School Board, making it a little bit more easy to understand. And the mentoring and training is now combined into one program. And so that was a nice thing to accomplish together with USBE, was the program consolidation. Next slide. Wanted to just point out here our current expenses for the Charter School Board last year in fiscal year 25 was $215,000 approximate less than it is this year. And that's because we moved out of the building, as you know, and we're in our own space. And along with that, we do not participate in the indirect cost pool. And so the next slide just kind of shows that again. And $214,000 then shifted from what was an indirect cost pool over to other expenses. And it's now used for contract services, or will be used for contract services. And that's something at a high level we just wanted to highlight for you in the fiscal year 26. And some of those examples of contract services are IT support, implementation of some, we call it traction. It's just how we improve our processes. We have some educational research. And then we have an accountability framework that we manage, and some funds will go to that and contract services. The next couple of arrows on this next slide just show at a high level again that we have some personnel, in-state travel and out-of-state travel that we've budgeted and that we'll spend accordingly. With the personnel budget line item, if you go to the next slide, we currently have 10 FTEs, and this budget accommodates for 2 more FTEs in fiscal year 26. We're going through a needs assessment to make sure we know the type of experience that we need, and we'll work with the Division of Human Resource Management in staffing for that. And then for travel, we do a lot of on-site school support. And so we did up that amount, that budget amount for fiscal year 26. And then nationally, we've been doing more presenting as we share the best practices for public charter schools with other states. And so we've also bumped up that particular line item. And so there's some staffing and travel high level. Just in closing, just a big shout out, a big thank you to the USBE staff. Really has helped us through some change as we are more autonomous for the budget that we're executing. It's your approved budget, but they've been extremely helpful with some of the things that I've pointed out in this presentation and a whole host of other things as well. The next update, because I know I said high level many times, is to get into a little bit more nitty gritty. We'll have quarter one that's complete, and we'll be able to do a budget versus actual. We'll point out some of the key trends, and then we'll also make any adjustments that are necessary. We were really happy to be able to present to the board, and just want to make myself available, Chair, for any questions or comments or anything else. We anticipate doing this on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. We have a couple questions. I've got Vice Chair Bollinger, and then Member Lear, then Member Davis.
Thank you, Chair. Director Kramer, I do like hearing that we're going to have more detail moving forward, because it is a pretty vague overview of what the budget's spent for. So as you're doing that, can you help us understand, when you talk about your 10 FTE, can you tell us a little bit more about what do those people do? What are their roles? What do they help with?
Yeah, we have an executive director and myself. We have an associate executive director. We do have an executive assistant that's part of our staff. We have the UCAP, Utah Charter Access Point. It's a joint venture with the USBE, and we have an FTE that both improves and supports and manages that, and also does some light work IT things. We have several support staff members, one that does research and reviews for complaints that come through hotline or come through our own complaint areas. We also have experts in strategic growth and development. We also have an expert that goes to schools for annual reviews and also 5-year monitoring. That's a support position. I've missed a few, but I've tried to kind of characterize some of the different FTEs. And in that next meeting, like you talk about, I'd be happy to provide a little bit more detail on that one.
Okay, Member Lear.
Thank you, and thank you for this report. This is more than we've had recently, and I really appreciate that. I had a similar question to Amanda's, and so thank you for telling us who your FTE are. But I have a couple of similar questions, and maybe you'll get to this next month, but I'd kind of like this to be processing it. How much rent do you pay in your new spaces?
Approximately $8,000 per year.
And do you know how much you paid when you were at the USBE?
$14,000, over $14,000.
Sorry, Dr. Kramer or Paul, did you say $8,000 per year you pay for?
Yes,
rent?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we get
How big
people
are your
wanting to
offices?
get that rent, yeah.
How big are your offices?
We have several shared office spaces. It's unnecessary for us to have, real large span of different offices. So that's probably the reason for the net difference, right? With some shared. So if you've come to I think some of you have come to our meetings. I know that Member Hall, you've been to our meetings. We have access to a board, meeting room, very nice, spacious for us. And that's something that we don't have every single day, 30, 31 days out of each month. But when we do calendar it, it's available for us. So we've calendared that out. But there's a cost savings, a net cost savings from fiscal year 26 compared to fiscal year 25.
And kind of similarly, just one other, and I won't pester you about every single one and
No
expect
problem at
more
all.
detail next time, but how much are your IT services?
Actually, we still enjoy IT services from USBE. That's for another half a month as we work through purchasing to get it intact. And so I would say that it's out for about a $90,000 is what we're looking at.
90, you said?
90,
You
correct.
broke up a little bit.
Yes,
Okay, so
90.
I'm sure you'll be able to report that maybe next time we meet and
Yes,
we'll
we
know
will.
what to expect for that. And then I just had, one more question. You mentioned just in passing a hotline. Are you speaking about the complaints or the concerns that come through the USBE hotline, or do you have your own hotline through the charter board?
We do not have our own hotline. We have the hotline that then gets referred to us. So USBE currently makes referrals to us for different complaints.
Right.
We have different channels that also come in. The public can access it through the Utah Charter Access Point and register a complaint. But I wouldn't say it's a hotline, but it is a public place where the public can put complaints.
Okay, that's helpful. And then the last thing is, I just hope that maybe the next time we're scheduled to meet, you could actually come and meet with us. I know that some of us would like to meet you, maybe a couple of your staff members, to see if you're real and not just virtual. And I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
But it'd just be nice to have that personal connection. And
Sure.
I really hope that you would come to our offices and we could maybe have even a lunch together or have a little bit of an opportunity to get to know your staff members and then also the work that you're doing. So thank you for those answers and thank you for that.
You got it. And we were en route today. So one of our board members and myself were both en route today. We probably should have just come earlier, but we didn't know you'd be so timely today. So good job with the meeting.
We've got Member Davis and then Member Longacre. Member Davis, go ahead.
Hello, Director Kremer. How are you? Nice to see you. It's a pleasure as
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have a question about the process. I think I may have misunderstood one of your slides incorrectly. I'm just double checking. The slide actually said report, but I'm wondering, is that budget? And I thought it said USBE drafts it and then SCSB finalizes it and then USBE approves it. Is that
Yeah, I think it's second. I think
for
it's
the
second
budget or
slide.
for the report out on the budget?
Let's go to is this the slide you're referring to here?
Yes, number one.
Yeah, number one is referring to the budget approval process, the annual approval process. And so that number one looks like we get a draft from you, USBE staff. And then after we receive that, we do make some modifications, changes. For fiscal year 26, we actually increased travel, both local travel and also national travel a little bit. And so that's what we would call finalizing. We kind of put it through some of our own, analysis and things like that. And so then the State Charter School Board finalizes it in a meeting, but ultimately the USBE approves the budget. So it comes back and then the USBE approves it. Does that help clarify, or did you have a different question?
So USBE is drafting the budget annually, initially.
Yeah, both beginning and ending the budget. So we would be in the middle.
I didn't know that. I did not. I missed a beat somewhere along the way. I told you this morning, learning every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Member
Thank you.
Longacre.
So on one of your slides, it says that you're spending $19,000 in travel outside of Utah. What kind of business are you doing outside of Utah?
Yeah, we've been really fortunate to be able to make some national presentations. The National Charter School Institute, the National Association of Charter School Authorizers, Also, so we've had a couple of really fantastic, I call them presentations in these national conferences. We also were up for an award this spring as the Charter Authorizer of the Year from the State Charter School Board, and we had 2 board members and 2 staff members go to attend. We didn't win this year, but we are looking forward to potentially winning in the future. So we're learning a lot at national conferences. We are actually presenting information and sharing best practices nationally. And then also, if we're ever up for an award, then we would want to be there to accept it. We just didn't win this last time. So this fiscal year 26, I believe that there's 4 different national conferences that we plan to attend, and our board and our staff engages in that national travel to be part of that national learning and presenting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Member Carey.
Thank you. Hi, Director Kremer, Joe Carey. And just following up with Board Member Longacre's question, the funds that are used for the travel, out of state or in state, you collect fees from the charters? Is that correct?
No, we do not.
Application fees?
We don't collect fees. All of the income, all of the revenue is tax revenue, income tax revenue from the state.
So whenever we see an expenditure that's taxpayer funds, is that correct?
That's correct, Member Carey.
And I also have another question, and it goes back to what Board Member Lear was talking about with the hotline. So you don't maintain a separate hotline?
We don't call it a hotline. We're actually think we're getting closer to calling it a hotline, but in the Utah Charter Access Point, it's our website and also a clearinghouse for a lot of information. There is a place to register a warning. So, but we don't have hotline, but that is something that we're looking at doing through the Utah Charter Access Point.
So, if I may, Chair, let's say one of Royce Van Tassel's charters goes off the rails, and they're all calling up your whatever you want to call it. But when people call up to lodge a concern or a complaint, do you field those?
Yes, we do field complaints that come to us, all of them, yes.
And what is that process? You said you don't call it a hotline. What do you currently call that?
Research and review.
So when these come through your research and review process, you have an FTE assigned to that?
That is correct.
And the information that you're receiving through the research and review process, are you communicating that with Chief Audit Executive Davis here at USBE?
Last week we had some interaction and coordination and communication, and then also this week. So yes, that does occur.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Kremer. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, Director Kremer, thank you for your time. We look forward to ongoing reports and opportunities to ask questions and have you provide feedback and answers. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you very much, Chair.